This episode is sponsored by Fat Tire.
And also Sam Adams. Which makes no sense.
That would be cool.
A beer sponsor? Yeah.
That'd be the best.
That'd be very cool.
That's what we're balanced. We're a balanced group here. You know what I found very interesting? So we were just at a wedding. I get more nervous for other people than I do me.
Oh, I was heart racing.
Oh, my heart was pounding.
Heart racing.
Yeah. I've noticed that a lot, I don't know, in the last few years. Because, like, we'll watch, you know, whether it's, like, big football games or, you know, like, main event UFC fights, that sort of thing. My heart is pounding. Most of the time we're sitting there, and I'm like, I wonder if she can feel my heart pounding. It's pounding so loud. But it was the same thing at the wedding. I was like, I was so nervous for them.
Yeah.
And I was like, I never got this nervous for myself doing anything. Basketball games, football games, like taking tests, like none of that kind of thing. I was like, this is so weird.
It made me nervous enough that I was like, I don't know if I could ever do this.
Well, I was thinking about that.
I was like, I don't think I could go through the nervousness of this moment right now to do a wedding.
Yeah.
I don't think I could bear it.
Do it. But that's what I kept thinking. I was like, I don't get nervous for me, though. It's like I do.
I think in a moment like that I would, because the attention is so specific. I just get nervous about the attention. I wouldn't get nervous in that situation about messing up or anything, because like, what are you messing up? I would just get nervous about so much attention is on you.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd get a little bit nervous, but not as nervous as that. It was the stupidest thing. I'm like, why is my heart pounding? Like, what am I so scared of? Like,
do you think it's
not even me? I'm sitting here on a bench.
Do you think it is like you're nervous that they're gonna mess up, or like that?
I think it's I'm
unknown of what's gonna happen. Like that's just a high pressure emotional situation.
Not the messing up or like unknown. I think it's just like that situation specifically. It's just like it's a little uncomfortable. There's a lot of attention on them that I'm like, I think I'm just projecting, or like I'm feeling their uncomfortability.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, this is so uncomfortable for everybody.
Yes.
So then I'm just like taking everybody's uncomfortability. But for like the, you know, sporting events and that sort of thing, I'm more so just like, this is the biggest moment of their life.
Oh, sure.
And it's like, that's what they're feeling.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm just sitting there acting like I'm feeling it too. My body's acting like it's feeling it, but
I don't get nervous like that when they're like, it really is just like when there's a win-loss, or like when something could go wrong. Like, again, like you're thinking like of a wedding situation. It's like someone could get like really emotional, or someone could like, it just like not go how they want it to, or something like that. Like there's stakes for it.
I think it's like, I think that they are nervous and worried about messing up or something going wrong.
So then you're just even like, though I'm experiencing, like I'm a part of the problem.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, even though if something messed up, or somebody, you know, was stammering and couldn't say the words, or like choking up, you know, whatever. It's like, I'm not like, if you mess up your speech or whatever, I'm like, what? I don't care.
Yeah.
It's like, it's almost like what I expect. I'm like, yeah, this is nerve wracking.
Yeah.
Like, you're fine. Keep going. Yeah. But it's like, it's like putting myself in their shoes of just like, they are so uncomfortable.
Sure.
It's like, I want to go up there and be like, just let me do it. Like, I'll be fine. Like, I don't want you to be uncomfortable. I don't want you to be nervous and feeling that, because it's making me more uncomfortable.
I wonder what the nervousness or the fear of that moment is. If they even are nervous. Like maybe people aren't nervous. I think it's just like most people don't stand in front of people.
It's vulnerability. That's my, like, I'm right. I agree with me. It's vulnerability.
Yeah.
Like they're so vulnerable in that moment.
Yeah.
That it's like, oh, everybody is watching me be extremely vulnerable.
Yes.
And then it's like, oh, if I mess up, now it's even more vulnerable, and I couldn't even do this.
Yes.
And
that's like, there's no way. That's why I was like, oh, this would be really hard for me to do. The only thing that I thought I was like, I could get through this if like we had like a photographer or a videographer. Like if I knew I was on camera doing it, I'd be able to do it.
Such a camera
and it
whore.
wouldn't. But it's kind of that like
camera whore.
it's like a distraction from the emotions.
Well, I think it's because
I'm playing a character then.
It like takes away the vulnerability. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I'd be fine doing that. It takes
away the realness of it.
Yeah.
It makes it just a camera thing and on camera.
Right.
And
right. That's how I could do it.
story of your life. Just trying to not feel.
Yeah.
You're like, let me just feel nothing for 90 years and I'll live a good life.
Well, it's just like in those moments, it's like, I don't need to show feelings in front of people. There's no need to do that. It's like, I feel feelings all the time, but I don't need to do it in front of a crowd.
I get that. I think it's like but then to not do things because of it, it seems like, oh, it's got control of you then.
Sure,
To
but
like
it's also
not
like, do I
do
really?
a wedding then?
But if I really wanted to do that, then I would push through and I'd make it happen. But it's like those things, like I don't necessarily need to have those specific moments, anyways.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that question comes up of like, are you just scared? And that's taking over? Are you convincing yourself you're
that I don't
want it, but really it's just like you're scared to be vulnerable.
I don't know.
It is. I'll tell you.
No, because in some of those ways I'm weird or different in that kind of stuff. Like,
yeah. But
is it because I just like I want to be weird and it's different and that seems cooler to me, or is it because it's the emotion thing? Because like I actually think like, well, I actually do think that would be cooler. I don't know. I don't know. It's like the whiskey thing. Like that I think would be funny and people would think that was cool or whatever.
I don't need to kiss you in front of people.
Yeah, like I think that cheersing the whiskey would be cool. But is it to avoid the emotions on that? It's like, no, I just think that's a cool idea.
Yeah. See, I agree.
Like that's fun.
I agree with you when it works for me too.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I want to do a wedding, but
I do too. It's just some of the parts where it's like I don't necessarily need that. Like almost like
we don't need to do vows.
It's like okay, it's like that isn't worth the emotion. The payoff of doing that, like I don't need to do that bad.
Well, it's like it is so much of a. I think in our case, it would be more of a show for other people than it would be for us. It's like we don't need to tell each other nice things about each other. Like we do that enough, anyways.
Or don't, and we just. No.
I think we do. I think we're good at that. Was something I was thinking about when you were gone. I was still home. Was like, oh, we actually do, what they always talk about of like, you need to, whatever, the couples therapy version of it of like, you need to appreciate each other and tell each other that you appreciate them and like what they're good at and whatever. It's like, oh, I think we're actually good at that and we do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I would say that.
I do that. You don't do that.
No, if that's what you're talking about, then yes, I definitely do.
I think we do that well. Then it's like, now this is just for other people to see us do it. I don't need to do this.
Honestly, it's a part of me that's like, I feel like I'm just bragging about you to a crowd. Like, that feels weird to me. It's like, do you want me to just like tell you why he's awesome?
Well, it's like, you're not going to enjoy doing that. I'm not going to enjoy sitting there dealing with that. It's like, I don't need it.
I mean, for people that like that and wanted to do that and like that is something for you, like I totally get the concept.
Oh yeah. But I think it's like there's
for us that's just not the vibe.
There's only this one cookie cutter way to do the wedding and the ceremony and that sort of thing, and everybody does that. I mean, everybody has their own flair in it too, but I think like that specific part where it's like the vows and you're saying all that stuff and you're ending it with a kiss and everything, it's like that's not for everybody.
Right.
Not everybody's relationship is like that.
Right.
And wants it to be like that.
And not that that was bad.
No, it's not bad.
It's just
like there's only one way to do it, and that's how it's been done forever.
Sure.
That's like now you come along and you go, that's not really us. I don't really want to do that. Everybody's like, what? You're running from something. You're whatever.
Right.
This. Like, no, that's just, we're not that type of couple.
Right. Yeah.
It's the same thing of like why you want red flowers in the middle of the table compared to white. It's like, we don't like, I like this color. I don't like this other color. But it's like, if it always, it's like the white dress thing. It has to be white. It always has to be white. It's like, I understand that that's the tradition and you do that, but maybe some people don't want to do a white dress.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing, seeing them. I love that look. It just is so classic looking.
It was such a good wedding.
Oh, yeah. And I loved how it was on the same location. Like, everything was on the same spot. Every
cool
area
place.
was super spacious. Like, nothing felt really cramped. And it was just it seemed efficient. Like, everything seemed very efficient and seamless.
Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. I really like that place. The place that we had drinks, like, that could be a bar. I wonder if it is like a working bar, but it is like that you could just go there on a regular day.
Well, yeah, that I don't know.
Like, it would be like, oh, that would be a cool place to like go have, drinks at or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, the wedding was awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. Very cool. All right, well, that was my little intro thing that I thought of. Now,
Trying to think if I have anything that I want to bring up. Just random.
I also thought about this. This is probably just as important.
It's not. And just how you're setting it up,
You
it's
can
so not
only-
important at all.
You can only fix one of these things: snot in your nose or sticky armpit.
Snot.
Which one are you fixing?
It's not.
Yeah, same.
That will irritate the
I thought
shit
you were
out
gonna
of me.
go armpit.
No, because there's so many other ways to avoid feeling that. It's like, I could just do this, and I don't know it's there.
Yeah,
But
true.
it's on my nose. It's gonna affect like how I'm breathing, how I'm talking. Like,
Yeah.
my nose and my chapped lips, I am very aware of.
Okay,
So
pick one
right
of
there,
those.
I'm like, there's no fucking way.
Pick one of those. I'm still going nose for sure.
Oh, that's hard. That is really hard.
Nose, 100%.
I don't know, because speaking of the wedding, I somehow didn't have my chapstick, and
Your gallon jug of
it
chapstick.
was bad. It was bad.
You realize how dependent you're
know.
addicted to
I know.
chapstick.
I was asking others if
Oh my,
I mean, people that I knew, but it's like, I
oh
went,
my god.
yeah, it was bad. Like, there was a little part of like,
Who
when I
was it?
noticed that it wasn't in my purse, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like, I'm going to have to,
Yeah.
it was bad.
Hey,
It was bad.
Can I bum a chapstick?
I was like, do you have chapstick?
Can I get a swipe? Oh my god.
Hell yeah. No, I actually do think I would do nose still.
Yeah. Well, you just did. Lips.
I know. It
Chapped
was
lips.
bad, but I've also had the runny nose and just like had nothing, or like you sneeze and it's like,
Or you can just
Here
like
we go.
feel it. Like,
yeah,
can't handle it.
yeah.
I can't.
Ow, 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 ow. Yeah, one thing that you said leaving, which I totally agree with, and I think it's just like a time to, like you said, appreciation and appreciate each other, but also like the people around us. Like, we have such awesome families. I think this
yeah.
trip again just reminded me of that, and it's just cool to have the ability to hang out with people and talk to them and like get along with family. I know like so many people don't have that, or wouldn't, want to just like hang out with them all of the time. So I think that's just.
Well, yeah. I mean, we went
cool.
back, and it was a last second thing for me, and it was like, hey, can everybody hang out on this day? And like my whole family was like, yep. Figure it out. We'll do it. It's like, that's just so. I think when you're used to it, you just take it for granted. Like anything.
And that's why I'm wanting to say it. It's like, I don't want to just like bypass how awesome that is.
Right. Well, and same with the wedding. It's like everybody's helping everybody there, and everybody's getting along. Everybody's nice, having a good time. Like, it was so easy. It was so seamless. It was so, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's really cool
Yeah.
and lucky and fortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So topic that I wanted to bring up was kind of it kind of teeters on the motivation chat that we had a couple episodes ago, but more so just like kind of being smarter than your brain and being smarter than your thoughts, and then how your thoughts respond and how you act and what you say and blah, blah, And I think we try to overpower our thoughts with our thoughts sometimes and try to like talk ourselves out of it. Or we try to like, well, why am I thinking that way? And then I'm just like going to keep spiraling versus like using our body to help push us in the direction. Cause like at the end of the day, you're going to be your body that's going to physically have you do something that it's like just going to right to that to the get-go versus like, well, I'm just going to sit here and ponder it for a while and stress about it and then feel anxious about it versus just like go into action.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best or biggest tools that I try to use, and it seems like I always forget about it. So it's like if I'm just spiraling, it's like I need to just get up and go be active, go for a walk, go, you know, maybe it's go work out if I haven't that day, or go be active in some way. It just, I don't know, there's something weird about moving and being active and, you know, getting the heart pumping and all that kind of stuff that just like flushes all of that stuff, that just the weird thoughts and, you know, the negative whatever, it just flushes it away. It helps me think more clearly. We were talking about it. It happened to me the other day where it's like we decided not to go to the gym, and then I decided, I think it was we were going to do the podcast. It was like we decided not to shoot the podcast, and it was just kind of like sitting around and not really doing much all day. And then it's like everything started to just turn to doom and gloom, you know, having to go to work the next day and having to fix the car and do this thing and do that thing. It's like now everything seems so overwhelming and crazy. And luckily we were both kind of planning on doing a walk anyways, but it's like we decided,
Let's
okay,
at least do that.
Yeah, let's go for a walk kind of later at night. And it was like it completely cleared everything away. It's like I'm not now anxious about going to work. I'm not anxious about, you know, the car or this or that. It's like really all I had to do was go for a freaking walk and
it was
be
like
active.
we didn't even get out of the around the corner.
No.
You're like 5 minutes or 5 seconds in and I'm already like feeling better.
Yeah. And it was like I was telling you, it was like it's so weird how quickly and easily like my brain just wants to be a little bitch.
Yeah.
Just so quickly it wants to like, no, let's just not do anything. Let's just be lazy. Let's not do this and let's not be productive. And it's like I have to constantly fight that and battle that and go be active. And usually that sparks like, okay, let's keep the ball rolling and going in that direction. And I think, like you said, we try to like overpower our thoughts with more thoughts. And I think there's such a hack in like, just go be active, go for a walk or maybe go for a jog or, you know, do something, lift weights, whatever it is, like just get up, be active, start doing stuff. And it clears it out.
It's the whole snowball idea as well. Like, I don't even think it needs to be that extreme. Like, I was sitting there working today and I was like just sitting down on my computer. It's like I was still being productive, but because I hadn't gotten stood up in hours, I just like started to feel a little bit tired. And then I started to get a little bit more irritated with the work that was coming up and just like, and again, I was like, I'm just going to get up and do the dishes. Or no, it wasn't the dishes. So I got up and did something very simple. Like it wasn't a task at all. It was like, I'm just going to get up and just, you know, do this since I'm standing, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I ate. I made breakfast. And immediately after that, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to actually do that after I do this. And that's going to be super easy. And then I'm going to throw the laundry in. It was like, it was such a switch of I'm literally just standing up and walking around. And that was enough of a shift for me to like, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
Like, get back into reality, lady. Like,
yeah.
And it almost feels like those things start to become almost like fun because you're getting that high from just like being up and working and getting stuff productive. But it's like you're doing so many things that like, oh, I could tackle anything I want.
Yeah, I think you just start to see it more positively. You start thinking about like, oh, I'm going to feel really good when this is done. And I accomplish this task rather than you're seeing the mountain ahead of you that you have to climb to get it done or whatever. It's just, it's such a stupid hack. Like it's such a stupid little thing that it works like every time for me. It's like, I think if you're sitting there thinking and trying to overcome whatever it is you're thinking about and what's overwhelming. Maybe it's going to work the next day. Maybe it's having to cook dinner that night. You're sitting there like, oh, I don't want to get up and cook. I'm just going to order, whatever. It's like, this is my suggestion is get up and start moving and then start thinking about it and making decisions. Because I feel like if you're going on a walk and you start to think about it, there's just something going on in the brain.
There's got to be something chemically that's happening.
I wonder if it's just a rise in dopamine or whatever it is, but you start moving and doing something and then you start thinking about this stuff, it just becomes more optimistic and it becomes more like, yeah, I'm going to get this done and I'm going to do that and I'm going to just like be on track with what I want to do. And it's like you said, the snowball. It's like you're either going to snowball in the direction you want to be going or you're snowballing in the other direction. It's like the more you're just sitting there doing nothing, you're going to continue to snowball in that bad direction. It's going to turn into, we're not going to go to the gym. We're not going to do the podcast. Now we don't want to cook. We want to maybe order something and whatever. It's like it just continues to go in that direction. That's like, it's just trying to fulfill more comfort, basically. So it's like, oh, not going to the gym. How comforting. Oh, not having to do the podcast. How comforting. Oh, now I'm comfort food. And it's like, it just keeps going to this comfort thing. And it's like, yeah, but comfort's not productive. It's never productive. So now you're just a lazy comfort person.
Yeah, like, we're searching too much for it because I want to say it's easy, but it's not even the easiness. It is, like you said, it is comfort. What is my safety net? What is my, my blanket or whatever? Like, what is your thing? You always go into like bitch mode. It's like, why are you being a wimp about this? Yeah. And then it's like everything. I think mine would be maybe wimpy as well. I don't know. What do you think mine is? Because I don't necessarily think I always go into the wimp. I got it. I think you go into like reward. I need to be rewarded. Yes.
I need
you got it. I am Bert Kreischer. I love treats.
Yeah. You start to like just make up in your head like, well, I've done all this other stuff.
Setting right now.
I don't know.
It's so dark all of a sudden. I just saw you.
You start, it was me talking about it. It's like, see how dark that is in you? But it's like, you start to just like, well, I've been really good lately and I've been doing this and that. So I need to like go out to eat and I deserve to spend money and I deserve this. And it's like, you go into like, I need to reward myself.
It's not comfort food. It's reward food.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That is totally it.
And I think it's a good point of like, everybody's got their thing of comfort of like what's going to comfort them. And
mine is like fun.
Yeah. It's like fun and something that you can concoct in your head that's rewarding to you.
Yes.
We say this all the time of like, you can talk yourself into anything. You can talk yourself out of anything. It's like, you can make up reasons and make your own reality of why it's smart for you to just go get Culver's tonight to reward yourself because you've worked so hard and whatever. It's like, it's not that you haven't worked so hard, but like, do you really need the reward? Like, what does it even mean? Is it really going to keep you going or, whatever the thing is? Or is it just you needing to find some comfort because you're a little bit,
and that's,
lazy
let's play,
right now?
That is actually something that, maybe I'll say it, and if you think it should be for a different podcast, I can just cut it out. But another aspect to that is, like, again, where we always go back to the, like, analyzing yourself part of it is, it's like, ask yourself those questions. Like, what is my go-to? Yours is comfort, mine is reward. Yeah. So then you can go, like, well, there is sometimes where I would like to reward myself. Like, that is intentional. I think that is okay because that does keep me going. It's like I said with the Starbucks. It's like, no, do I need to go buy coffee? Do I need to go to coffee shops to do work? Absolutely not. I can do it at home and I can make coffee at home. But is that going to kind of spark for me to be able to do more work and just like my fun is my recovery kind of like, I don't need to sit at home all day, but my recharging is fun. I'm realizing a little bit more now that same thing with you. It's like, are there some times where it's beneficial to, it's okay to sit down. Yeah. Okay, it's okay to chill a day or whatever. Yeah. I think maybe where you can tell is is it intentional or not? Am I running from something or is this the thing that I'm planning on doing?
Yeah. And I think, like you said, you really have to think about that because, again, you can just talk yourself into no, I am doing it because
Right.
I think I should or whatever. What I like to do is like plan it out multiple days in advance. It's like kind of going to that delayed gratification
Yeah.
where it's like, I've been working a lot lately. I feel like I want to have a day that I'm just kind of lazy or not doing much, or I get to relax kind of thing. And that's comforting. It's like plan that like 3 days from now or a day that works. Don't like spiral into it that day.
Sure.
I think when it's on the day, it's like, oh, you're just bypassing or running from the problems or running from the feeling of, you're trying to figure out how to be productive and you're not really winning that day. So now you're just going into your comforts to where it's like, if you plan it out, like you said, it's going to be more intentional then to where now, okay, well, I planned it today to be lazy. So we're good because I already got all this other stuff done the last 3 days. To where it's like when we're going like, we were going to go to the gym and then we don't. We were going to do the podcast and then we don't. And then it just keeps going that way. It's like, that's on the day. It's like, that's not like us going like, we should reward ourselves and, whatever. It's like, no, you're just losing the battles today.
Yeah.
You got to find a way to, get back on that snowball that's going in the positive direction. And like, that's this topic of just like, people try to do it with their brain. And I think it's so underrated to like do it with your body, get up and get moving and go do something, because I think that's going to start to send, send signals of like, hey, we can get shit done. Like we can be optimistic. We can be productive. We're doing this already. We're going for a walk. Like we're doing this, we can do other things. And that just starts to, I don't know. For me, I just naturally start to think more positively and how can I get stuff done today? And like what you were talking about, it's like, now the things don't seem so big. It's like,
yes,
you're doing this thing now and it's not that bad. And now all I got to do is this other random thing that's not that bad.
I think there's something in the way that I think, I don't know if you do too, where it's almost like I start to stack things. So it's like, if I went on a walk, I now want to have like a healthier dinner, or I want to then, go to the pool or like still be outside or like build upon those benefits versus, well, let's go for a walk, but like then I'm just going to sit inside and watch TV for the rest of the night. It almost feels like, well, that was just a wash then. Like you're not really, it's like you didn't really add on to the walk, which has been the jump start. It's like, I don't want to just do the dishes. Like I'm going to do the dishes and then clean something else. Or when I'm doing the dishes, like start making food or whatever. Like I want it to build upon itself so that it like, oh, I did a bunch of good things. And all those things like worked together.
Yeah.
I do that with fun stuff too, though.
Well, I think like you said, it starts to stack and then the next thing is easier. The next thing is even easier. And it just keeps, it's the snowball thing. Like it just continues to start rolling faster and faster downhill because it's picking up speed. And I think it's the same thing for people. It's like you're just stacking good things on top of each other. It's like everything starts to seem easier and you start to feel like you can accomplish any of those things then.
Yeah.
That's why I love that we get up and go for a walk right away in the morning when we get up, because it's like, if we got up, we've done it. We get up and eat and it's just kind of this slow moving, not like eat and then coffee. And then you kind of just sit there for a few minutes and a few minutes turns into 30 and whatever. And then it's a little bit harder to get up and go to the gym. And then even then it's like, you're still fighting an uphill battle towards like starting off with the walk just seems like it literally feels like you're starting at the top of the hill and have to walk down now versus I'm starting at the bottom of the hill and I got to walk up it.
Yeah. Cause it does kind of feel like, well, I'm already out doing it.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, why would I just go back home and sit down? Like I'm already outside.
And it almost becomes uninteresting to you too. Yeah. It's like, I don't want to go back home and sit inside.
Yeah.
To where when you start there and you're in there the whole morning and then you're like, I don't want to go outside. I don't want to go do stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, you just have to, I don't know. It's helped me of like, get up and go be active and go do something. And it starts to go, everything becomes easier the rest of the day. Yeah.
Well, I've been listening to a lot of that, Not Just Cute podcast. And again, I'm just regurgitating all of the information that I'm hearing on there. I'm not like coming up with this on my own. But they've been talking a lot about that in the last couple episodes with 3 different people that she's had on, of just like the benefit of kids being active. And she's a kindergarten teacher, and she's like, they just knocked down to like they have 1 recess a day. And then in Florida, I'm hearing like they're not even going outside. Like they're doing recess inside. It's like the kids don't even go outside at all during the day. They're now only having 1 recess time. Their gym, like physical whatever, isn't every day either.
PE.
But like just they were talking about like they have to get through the certain curriculum, of course, with the kids, but that like there's this constant fight with the parents and, you know, the boards about like, well, you need to follow curriculum. You need to like basically just like start setting them up to be taking these standardized tests. And they're like, their brains don't develop this way. Like, not only do they not develop this way, but it's like, we're missing the piece of the puzzle. It's like you want, and I was trying to like find a good analogy, but it's like, you're trying to get them to be a super successful, like millionaire, like make a lot of money, have good success in your career, but then you're not teaching them like how to work hard. You're going like, well, you got to be able to achieve all of these things, but you're not given the fundamentals of learning how to be a person that would achieve those things. It's like, we want you to learn how to take tests, but we're not going to teach you how to focus. We're not going to teach you how to like understand information. We're not going to teach you how to like basically like be in a classroom setting and be able to understand like structure of any kind. They're like, well, you just got to get through these worksheets throughout the semester. Yeah. And she's like, yeah, unfortunately you might have to do that depending on what school you're in, but doesn't mean that as a teacher, you shouldn't take the liberty to, it's like, well, we're going to do this worksheet outside today, or we're going to do it and I'm going to find a creative way to do it so that we can be active while we do it. Or, you know, they're like, it doesn't make sense why they're sitting at a desk. They're 4 and 5 years old. Like, go sit at a carpet, and so they can like sit in a different position or kind of walk around if they want to, or just like be a little bit more free. Cause she was saying the way that, cause she was a psychologist and then, or she was a elementary school teacher, psychologist, and then she went back to school for like nutrition, and then maybe again, like something with the psychology was also with like the I don't want to say it incorrectly, but basically like the studying of a kid's brain and like how it works, and not like in a doctor type of stance, but just more of like the awareness of that. Yeah. And she was saying that the way that we teach kids in the regular school structure of that, she's like, teachers aren't taking enough of a push for what you think is beneficial. She's like, we teach teachers how to teach, but nothing to do with children. It's like, we teach them how to teach math, but they don't know anything about childhood development or how their brains are working or what they actually should be, like how they should be learning. Right. It's like the personal training thing. It's like, you're not teaching you how to train. You're just teaching you somewhat of the information. Yeah. Yeah. Not how like, that makes no sense. Yeah. Not like when 90% of these jobs is communication and, you know, like. But she was saying, she's like, kids are they have more energy and like they're meant to be like physical. That's also how like their proprioception, how their brain is learning. So the more that you can get them around different things and being able to like physically move around while they're taking in information, they're going to learn it better. Their brain is going to form more properly. And that's just like how they work. And yet we're shoving them in a chair and then giving them check marks when they want to get up and walk around. And we're basically just like teaching them like, nope, you can't do what you want. You just got to sit here and then we're going to discipline you to be that way. But in that regard, they're not learning that the way that they should. And they're also becoming so deconditioned that now we're getting adults. Yeah. Where it's like our physical anatomy is changing because we're not doing what we used to do. Yeah. And it's just getting worse and worse. And they're starting younger and younger. I mean, it's like it used to, even before our time, like it used to be, you know, you've got too much energy, go outside and play, go run around, go do something, go get into trouble kind of thing. And it's like, why did we stop that? Yeah, it's like that's what kids do and are. And I think it's kind of funny to think like we grow up and we don't need that anymore.
to where it's like, look at how many people are anxious and depressed and are on medication and have all these things and are diagnosed with all these things. And it's like, how much of that is cured if you just get more exercise?
And that's what this lady was saying. She was working like as a therapist for, maybe she still is, or she's not seeing patients herself, but she just has a practice. And she was noticing, and she's like, I don't know why there is not more like literature on this. She's like, there's a bunch of research, but no one is teaching this or talking about this.
Because
she's
they
like,
don't think there's a correlation. They think it's so,
well,
it's the topic of this podcast. They think it's so in the brain. Everything's in the brain.
Yes.
And you have to overcome it with the brain. It's like, no, go be active.
Yes.
How many people I trained that were on antidepressants that they would stay with me for 6 months and they go like, I've never felt better.
Yeah.
Like mentally.
Yeah.
Not even physically. Like my body hasn't even changed that much. Yeah. And then they start complaining about how their body hasn't changed. They're like, wait, yeah, my body hasn't. I'm like, yeah, but look at where you're at mentally. Yeah. And it's like.
And you thought that was the block.
Yeah. And you thought like most of them thought they had to figure it out by thinking about it or doing, whatever. So they had to fix it with their thoughts, or they had to fix it with a antidepressant or certain vitamins or whatever. And it was like, no, you just started being active 3 times a week and not 0 times a week.
Yeah.
And now your brain is functioning better and you're more optimistic and you're not as depressed. You're not as anxious. Like things that used to bother you don't bother you anymore. It's like,
you don't have the energy to deal with it after that
exactly.
either.
Literally, like you're literally getting rid of like excess energy that's all pent up in you. That's like, it doesn't even bother me anymore.
Yeah.
And like you said, we're starting it with kids and we're going more and more in that direction of let's have them be less and less active so that they can learn more and use their brain more. And it just, I think I get that it seems counterintuitive of like, you're going to be smarter and healthier by your brain smarter and healthier by being more active and actually using your brain less. But it's like kids especially are getting forced into that situation. Your brains are so bogged down from thinking all day, every day, because you're sitting there doing nothing. Get up and go do something so that you're not thinking about shit all the time. It's like when I'm working out or running, I'm like, okay, how do I control my breath? I need to find where my breath is so that I can be consistent and do this for a long period of time. And same with lifting. I'm thinking about like, okay, how do I contract the muscle and then relax and make sure I'm in the right posture and do it. It's like you're thinking about such stupid things because you actually have to be in the present moment to where you're just naturally cleansing all of the anxiousness and OCD and all this other shit so that when you do go sit down at night, you're not, I can't sleep because I'm thinking too much. It's like, well, you didn't fucking burn any energy off today.
Right.
No wonder you're thinking so much. It's not that your brain's broke. It's that your body is. You're not moving.
Yeah.
And we're doing it with kids.
Yes. Well, and that's what she's saying. She's like, I've worked now with children and adults, and both of them have the same issue. And a lot of it is it's starting now with children to where it used to just be adults had this issue. But she's like, now that I'm seeing she's like, I'm kind of like putting the puzzle pieces together now. And she's like, I've been doing this for 40, 50 years. She's like, this is not like a common practice. This is not common knowledge. This is not something that other doctors are even bringing up with their clients. But she's saying like, again, going back to like the school scenario, she's like, it's not just about like the troubled kids that need this. She's like, this is how kids' brain chemistry are developing. And now if you're not developing their brain correctly, how are you expecting them to do any of the learning that they need to do? Because she's like, kids are so like based on their senses. That's like, if you're only just sitting in one place, you're not challenging your proprioception, you're not challenging your awareness of space, and you're just like looking at a freaking sheet and then trying to absorb that information. It's like your eyes, like that's the only thing that you're getting. Like you're not able to like experience by being outside or touching different things or needing to physically move and understand the information that way. You're not able to hear different things. She's like, those are the kids that turn into the adults that have learning disabilities, behavior issues, anxiety, like all this stuff that we're seeing so prevalent now. She's like, it's because we're starting to move less and take care of our body less. She's like, all the kids that I treated that they come in and they're like, well, she was fine. And then she turned 7 and it like shit hit the fan. Like, we don't know what happened. And then she started like talking with, you know, like her doctor, or being like, oh, this girl has been having stomach aches for the last 6 months, or she is noticing that she stopped doing this sport, so now she's sitting at home a little bit more, or like all of the physical things started happening first, and then the behavior stuff happened. And she's like, 9 times out of 10, the kids that coming in for a behavior issue is also having some sort of IBS situation or headaches or whatever. That's like, that's the same with adults. Like,
Yeah.
we're not tending to the physical, and then we're blaming our brain for like being weird or having issues. She's like, there's a reason. She's like, it's not random that we're just nowadays having more adults that have these things.
Yeah.
She's like, all these adults are having learning issues, but we didn't before. They're having focus issues, but we didn't before. They're having anxiety, but they didn't before.
Yeah.
She's like, our parents had way harder lives.
Yeah.
But they were also outside. They were way more physical. They were not like smelling weird smells or being like overstimulated with a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
She's like, their life was more simple in that way, but it's like their brain was almost like fully formed and properly formed.
And it's probably because most of the work then was physical.
Yeah.
So it's like they're just getting it out even
Naturally.
with work.
Yeah.
To where work now is sit at your desk and don't do anything, you know, just like what you're doing in school. It's like, so now you're not getting that physical, you know, whatever, you're not getting that physical bar filled up kind of thing that you have to go seek it out on your own. You can't get it naturally like, you know, our parents or even before that used to.
Yeah.
You have to go do it yourself. Towards like, it kind of makes sense that everybody's getting more anxious and more depressed and, you know, OCD and all that kind of stuff. But it's kind of like, if you look back and you go, well, nobody really had it before. What were they doing? Well, everything was way more physical.
Yeah. Like, we're not special because we have these problems now.
No. Yeah. And I think people make the argument and they go like, well, they had anxiety too. They just didn't know that they had it. And it's like, yeah, maybe a select few, but anxiety is not like a new diagnosis.
Right.
It's like everybody's felt anxiety. That's the other thing. It's like everybody feels it. You're not different or special for feeling anxiety. Everybody feels it all the time, daily. Some feel it.
I don't agree with that.
Some feel it way more than others. And that's where I go be active.
Yeah, I'll say like, I think I've been like one moment that I can really place a finger on where I was like, oh, that could have been it. That could have been something close.
But it's like the anxiety thing's a spectrum. It's the littlest amount is like, oh, I'm nervous about this thing.
See, that's where I go, pick better words.
I agree. I 100% agree.
That's nervousness.
But if we want to,
I'm a little freaked out.
But if we want to talk like on the terms that everybody else is using,
sure.
You know, that is people are considering that anxiety. So it's like, and that's right.
Okay. Yeah.
My favorite thing to say or do is like, oh, so everybody's depressed now. That means nobody's depressed. If everybody's got it, that means nobody's got it.
Yeah.
It's like, this is just life now. So you have to figure out a way to make it better. And it seems like what we see as the common thing is, well, we're way less active and way more depressed. Mm-hmm. So flip it. It's probably if you're way more active, you're going to be way less depressed. But it's people don't want to do that. They don't.
And again,
it's
that's
too
where the
simple
spiral
of an answer.
I know.
It's way too simple. They go, no, I've got this thing though, and that thing though, and they start to make up reasons and excuses, and it's like, you don't want to go be active. Because if you wanted to fix this and we're telling you go be active and it'll fix it, and you're going, no, I've got all these other things, it's like, well, you don't want to fix it then. Because there's so much study and research on the people that are more active are less depressed. So just go do that. It's like,
what's worse is going to happen?
That's why the first how many episodes of this podcast is mental toughness, discipline, hard work, whatever, so that we can get to this point and go, hey, remember all those episodes? Now it's time to use it and go be active. Yeah. And then you're going to be less depressed.
Yeah. I mean, it was like such a mood shift yesterday for you. Even on the walk. Unreal. It's like, how you start talking and like the way that you then approach the same scenarios. It's like, oh, I can handle that. It's like, well, 5 minutes ago, that would have been just taking you out. Like you wouldn't have been able to handle it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's
Wimpy
something
boy.
very, very simple.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, then you spiral down that. It's like, then the very, very simple things start to become harder and harder and harder. It's like, that doesn't sound fun. It's like, when you're in that scenario, it's like, do you want something as simple as, I'm trying to think of something I did, like putting away the laundry as like, oh my God, I don't know if I can. It's like laundry.
Yeah.
It's like, how are you going to handle when
it's
regular life things go on?
So many of our grandparents and like my parents, it was like you had morning chores and night chores you had to do daily.
Yeah.
And it was like, go shovel shit, go milk cows, go feed animals, like lift hay bales, do all this physical shit. And it's like, and you can't do laundry because you're stressed out and tired.
Put it in from one machine into the other. Take it out and fold it.
Like, you don't even have to wash it. You just put laundry in a fucking robot. Yeah.
But I get it. Like, we've both have been there so many times.
Oh my God, yeah.
And it's just like, it doesn't make you feel good. And it just is like, well, how am I going to, it really starts to affect the way that you see like your choices in life and how you think you can handle it, which is, it sucks because like, okay, so I'm going to be the person that laundry takes me out. It's like,
I'm so incapable.
I can't have children.
Yeah.
I go to that extreme of like, oh, I can't do that.
Yeah.
This laundry is the nightmare of my day. It's like, how are you able to handle actual difficult things? Like, I want the difficult things to feel like, yeah, I'm fine.
Well, and this is where we get a bunch of shitty parents. Is because they can't handle those things.
Yeah.
But they still want to have, it's like, that so much of our society now is like, everybody wants to have all of the things, but they don't want to do any of the work for it.
Sure.
It's like, I want to have kids that are amazing and all this great stuff, but I don't want to do the laundry. I don't want to, like, something very small, minimal task is extremely difficult for me. And then you want to do like the most important thing of like raise kids to, you know, take your spot in this life. And it's like you said, you can't even, like, laundry's too much for you.
Yeah. Well, and that's what she was saying too. She's like, it frustrates me with the parents and the teachers that she deals with, because she's like, I'm giving you what you're wanting. Like, I'm trying to help your kid, you know, behave better and understand what's going on more and be able to like have more self-control and awareness. And it's like, all I'm asking you to do is not give them fast food sometimes. All I'm asking you to do, like the teachers, just like take them outside and do something. But it's like, I shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's probably not going to do anything. Like, tell them that they need to, you know, do this, or give them like some, like, yell at them in certain ways, or like that 5-year-old just needs to sit down. It's like, really?
They need to learn how to sit still.
Exactly. And that's what she said. She's like, they always go to like where the kid is faulting versus, she said, and I want to like figure out how she said it because it was so perfect. And I noticed, like, as me teaching, I'm like, oh, I fall into that sometimes. She's like, most of the time when it's a behavior issue, if you are supposedly doing this correctly, which hopefully you are, if there's a behavior issue, it's because of a misguided expectation based off of what you've given them, their age. Like, you can't expect a 4-year-old to sit in their chair for 8 hours a day with just like one recess and maybe, you know, like on lunch and some other activities. Like, that is not a reasonable expectation for a 4-year-old. And now you're going to get mad at them because they're being 4.
Yeah.
But then because you're spending so much time by disciplining that, or the parent that's like, I can't cook them dinner they're going to have fast food every night. It's like, because you're not taking the time to do that, you're now just focusing more on the discipline, or I'm going to pay a therapist to talk to my kid, or I'm going to take him to the doctor and put him on all these medications because they have all these issues, versus just actually developing a 4-year-old, developing a 5-year-old, developing a 6-year-old. They're like, we're expecting them to do so many crazy things that's not expected for them. But then it's like you want them to be an elite kid by like sitting in a goddamn chair and being able to read when they're 4. But then you're like, just take them outside. They're like, that's too much work. So you're putting the weight of the world on this 4-year-old. And we're doing that as adults.
That's what drives me crazy. Is it's easier for these parents to take them to a therapist or get them on medication or like drill into them discipline of sitting in a chair all day, whatever. It's easier for them to do all of those things rather than, hey, let's go outside for 30 minutes every day at night, like around, like before dinner or something.
Yeah.
That is easier than let me cook you a meal that is nutritious so that you don't act this way. It's like, I think one of it is just they don't believe that will work.
Right.
So that's the first problem. And then the second problem is cooking a meal or going and being active is more work to them than taking them to a therapist once or twice a week for hour sessions.
And paying for that.
And working to pay for that. And, making sure they have the right medication that they're taking every day. And like all of those things are more work than just, hey, give them some nutritious food.
And that's why I bring it up is like, this is what adults do. Like, that's what we're saying. Like, treating your mind with your body and not treating it with your mind is now you're expecting your adult brain to go, oh, I want to achieve this, career path. Probably not going to happen. That seems way too hard because you can't do this. I want to, have success in my relationship. Well, guess what? That's a lot of work. So you're probably not going to do that. I'm just thinking of adult problems. Like, we're not 4-year-olds having to deal with learning math anymore. Like, it's like adult problems are
I want to be
in shape, being able to have enough money, having the career that you want, and having a relationship that you want to be in. Like, that's really all adults are trying to achieve all the time. It's like, all of those are really, really difficult.
They're really difficult.
So now you're doing it with an incapable brain, an incapable system, because you're trying to treat it with all of these mental games.
Yeah.
It's like, that's too hard. You think you're going to achieve any of those things? No, because physically you're not tending to that.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's starting in frickin' kindergarten. You think it changes as you get older? No, we're starting it at 4 or we're starting at 5. But then as adults, we're not doing that either. She's like, it could be so much simpler than what it is.
Yeah.
But in a way, like, they see that as that's too difficult. That's too hard.
Yeah.
But it's like,
yeah. Well, and it's like you can, we can talk about it on here every episode. We can, you can go look at the research and the data of everything. You can listen to experts like this lady. Like, you can be preaching it and yelling it from the rooftops, but it's like people just don't believe it. They don't want to believe it. It's harder to them than like, people, I think I do this too. Naturally, we go, okay, what's kind of the path of least resistance to try to fix this issue? It's like, I've got this problem, so it's like, it's easier to take a pill than to go work out. It's even easier to take a pill than to go to a therapist and talk about all this stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, we try to find the easiest route possible to fix the issue, rather than like, let's just go to the thing that works.
Right.
Let's just go right to it and do it, because it's hard and it's hard work, and you got to do it consistently and discipline. I mean, it's like staying in shape. It's like you can't just do it, get in shape and go, okay, cool, I'm done, and then stop doing it. It's like you have to continue to do it forever if you want to stay in that type of shape. It's hard, it's difficult, but it makes everything else better.
Yeah.
And that's I don't know, like, I think in a lot of ways it's just like whether people are not ready for it, or they don't want to believe it, or they don't think it's real. I don't know. There's a lot of different reasons.
Well, and what I was thinking of when I was listening to that episode was, it's like, it's interesting that we're gaining more and more like evidence per se, or like, she's like, there's so much research on this. Like, she's like, when I actually started diving into this, I thought I just like had come up with it because I had never heard about it and it wasn't talked about in school. And then she's like, I dove into it and I had like other people that were more neuroscientists, like that is their full on role. And it's like, oh yeah, 100%.
Like decades of
yeah. She's
research.
like, this is not new information.
It's just not being talked about.
No. And I think it's because, again, it's like you said, it's hard, but it's also, it's just more effort to tend to children that way and to be more creative in the way that we're educating them and what we're providing at home. And yeah, the system is already built. And she's like, it's not that we just are creating shitty kids all of a sudden. And the same thing with adults. Like, it's not like all of a sudden we all have these disorders. She's like, it's a system issue that no one is willing to adjust or look into or question.
Yeah.
It's like, so
it's the wedding thing.
It's the same thing with adults. Like, we're not questioning enough. Like, is what we're doing working?
Yeah. Why am I unhappy every day?
And why is everybody unhappy? And why is everybody stressed? And why can none of us like focus on something? Because she's like, you know, kids that have ADHD, apparently. She's like, we don't teach kids how to focus anymore. We just go, oh, all these kids are crazy in my first grade class. They all need to be on medication.
Yeah.
It's like, this should be fun for them. They shouldn't have to be like overstimulated with too many things that they can't focus. It's like, and then you got to put a pill. It's like, you think that they're just going to age out of that? No, that's going to be the adult that has those same issues.
Well, and that's like, I mean, even that is a whole other rabbit hole. It's like you're putting a 5 or 6 year old on a pill. I mean, everything you do has tolerance. So it's like, what are they going to need when they're 20?
Right.
If they're on something at 5,
yeah.
It's like, holy shit, you're just zombieing this kid out. I mean, it's crazy. I think it's interesting too to look at like the increase of like obesity and then the increase of depression. It's like correlation doesn't always equal causation, but it's like this time I think it for sure does. It's like we are becoming more and more obese and then we're becoming more and more depressed. Weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, but nobody thinks that having a healthy body has anything to do with your brain for some weird reason.
Yeah.
They don't think it has anything to do with it. It's like, you know, being healthy and in shape isn't going to matter. You're still going to think the way you do. It's like bull fucking shit.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Like you're always going to be, your brain is just the way it is and you're going to think that way forever. And you're going to have to, you know, whether it's like you're always going to have to do therapy or you're always going to have to be on a pill or whatever. It's like, I call bullshit from the freaking rafters in the stadium. Bullshit. Like, it was not that way when obesity wasn't an issue. And now it is an issue and everybody also has this other thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, weird. To me, it's the same thing of like, it's like saying people, like the obesity thing has nothing to do with diabetes. It's like, are we that stupid? Like, we accept that narrative. We accept that, you know, connection or whatever. But we will not accept our brain to our body and the connection between that. We think of them as separate entities for some weird reason. And it's like going and being active and like getting healthy isn't going to like take your depression down. Isn't going to make you less anxious. Isn't going to bring your OCD down. It's not going to do any of those things.
It's just about looks.
It's like watch a freaking kid for a week. Have them go be super active and then have them go be not active at all and see what the fuck happens to them.
Well, we have a great like live example of that. Like we teach a family of kids that I have never seen kids like this. Like they are just they're so awesome, but like they're so chill and they're kind and they're aware of what they're doing. They're aware of the people around them. Like they
like good people.
Yeah, and it's like they're ranges from age 4 to 9. So it's not even just like, oh, you got a lucky one. It's like there's 5 of them. Yeah. Like you would think there'd be one bad egg if like this theory didn't work. But it's like, and then you talk through like what they do in a day. It's like they are active as heck.
Yeah.
And it's like by the time they get to class, it's like they're like hands in their pockets, strolling in, like they're so happy and they're chill and they're able to still focus and learn. Like they're not drained.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it's just, I think you got your energy out, so you're able to focus now.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have this like, it's like if you drink too much caffeine and you just kind of had that like jittery anxiousness.
Yeah.
It's like, imagine if that's just what you were doing and feeling all of the time. Yeah, it'd be pretty hard to do a lot of things on top of like your kid brain not necessarily just like knowing all the tools yet.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, if you can just like get that out, now you're able to dial in and like kind of constructively and efficiently designate where the rest of it's going to go.
Yeah.
And it's like, if that is the solution, those kids are awesome.
Yeah.
It's like, they're not any smarter than the other kids. They're not like getting a different type of, it's like, you would think, like I said, it's like, there's how many of them and they're all like that. I don't think it's just a coincidence.
Yeah.
It's like they are super active and they are the best.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like this episode's gonna, I don't know, tickle some people's anger button.
Yeah. Well, I think for us, I guess, to bring it maybe more personal and not just like attacky, it's like we have been struggling with this for a long time of just like,
I said yesterday,
yeah,
like I'm still, having to constantly remind myself, like, yeah, you haven't been active today.
Yeah.
Go do something. No wonder you.
Well, and look what happens. Like that could just spiral into lasting for a long time.
And it has.
Yeah. It's like, it's not like, I mean, how many conversations have we had? How many times have we tried to break down, like, why are you thinking like this? Why are you making those choices? Why are you blah, blah, blah?
Yeah.
It's like, we never cracked the case.
Well, it's weird of like, I, was extremely active growing up and then got less active in my early 20s. And now I'm more active again. And then there's a direct correlation of like my mental well-being, my like actual success in the world too, of like whether money making or like doing jobs that I like to do and that sort of thing. Like
who you are to even to like other people and like,
yeah, just my being nicer and all that kind of stuff. Like there's a direct correlation with how much activity I've had.
Yeah.
It's like when I've had a lot of activity, I'm just better in all areas. With not as much activity, and this is for short bursts, this is for long periods of time. It's like the more active I am, the better I am off with every single thing in my life.
Yeah.
That it's like, we're kind of at this threshold where it's like basically 2 walks a day, 2-hour walks probably, and a weightlifting session. And it's like, I want to find a way to do more.
I was saying, and even then, some days we're like, okay, I'm
getting bored.
Needing to get, yeah.
It's like if I can find a way to put more activity in there, it's like all of the data for me has shown more activity means I'm better at everything. So it's like I kind of want to find that, like, when does it tip over? To where it's like my whole life is just activity and it's not working anymore, or is it like, well, this is my life now and everything's working great. So
I feel like the data has kind of shown us that of like we are probably the most active right now that we have been, like obviously since being in school, but like,
yeah,
I feel like it is very obvious and very quickly correlating to how our life is panning out and like how we are, like, I feel like I keep saying it's like, I'm kind of bored. Like, I feel like I could handle more. Like, I feel like I'm kind of like my bandwidth is expanding and I'm getting a little bit more of a gear. Yeah. And it's just like, it's like I'm pushing myself in the other ways give me more to handle. It's like I have
Yeah.
this confidence because I think I'm doing so much to, like, I'm almost like, because I'm exhausting myself physically, I'm able to dial in more in these other areas.
Yeah.
I'm
Well, like you
really
said,
noticing that.
it helps you, you know, with kids, and I think it does with adults too. It's like it helps you focus more. So now, like, your work, it's more efficient because you're able to focus more on it rather than sitting there being antsy and not having enough energy used up. It's like your brain is kind of away from the work. It's trying to do something else.
Yeah.
That's like the more active, the more focused in on the stuff that needs that attention.
Yeah.
Rather than the busybody thing.
I think that's why I wanted to talk about it, or why I even wrote it down in my notes, is it's been so prevalent in our lives over the last how many years?
It's like so obvious too.
Yes. That I think maybe that's why, either that's why we were preachy about it, or it's because we've been watching Righteous Gemstones. So we're preachers now. I don't know. But it's like, I feel like these things that are so like, this is incredible. Like, I want to just like
Yeah.
say it and like keep saying it and keep bringing it up, and because like, oh, this could affect so many people, or like how many people we know that's like, yeah, you're on the opposite side of this, like you're in the struggle bus of it, like you're in the negative effects of what we're talking about. That and I don't even say it just like personally, it's just like you hear about it all the time, like so many people are dealing with this.
It's the whole world.
And we were dealing with this. It's like, oh, it can be so like, sometimes just like needing to work on that is hard for people. It's like, it could be easier.
Yeah.
Like there could be a simpler version of this that could treat you.
Yeah.
Could help you.
Yeah. Well, I think I don't know, like
because we've been through it.
I think us doing the podcast, it's like there's going to be many hats that are worn kind of thing, that it's like this one's just a little bit more intense, and like get your shit together.
Yeah.
Like let's get up and go do something, and also
get your kids up and go do something.
Yeah. It's like we can't always be quiet and nice, and it's like what I tell you all the time, like I need to be yelled at. I grew up in football, like yelling.
You're so funny about that. Yeah.
Like,
and I'm like, never raise your voice to me.
Sweet and nice to me, I'm like, you're a pushover. Stop. Yell at me. Like, do something. This is the yelling one.
Yeah. I think it's just like, it's stupid, but it's like the more passionate I think about a topic, because it's so like, how isn't anybody talking about this?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So it's like when I was listening to that lady, like she was getting so irritated because she just like, why are we keep like letting ourselves believe this narrative?
Yeah.
She's like, I have such a passion now between all of my careers of like, it all leads back. Like she's like, all of my careers, always I find a direction to like have it be about kids and have it be about like the building of kids and the development of kids. And we're fucking it up.
Yeah.
She's like, I noticed when I was doing that with my own children, and I immediately switched it around. But she's like, from top to bottom, how we are treating kids, it is just getting worse. And then when we're having these adult issues, it's like, you don't get to complain, because we've been doing this from when they were first starting in school, or when they were even younger than that. Like,
yeah,
like
it's a weird one.
So,
like, same with us. We got intense about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think because she's just like, it's so simple. Like, we're making it about so many of these like complex issues and complex things, and we're trying to understand like self-trauma to understand why we're acting this way and whatever. And she's like,
sometimes it's less talking.
Sometimes it's just about get freaking outside, get your kids moving, you get moving. Like, stop overwhelming yourself with all these other things, because it's going to be kind of like a never-ending road.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's like, it could be simpler. It could be way simpler.
Yep.
We could be better parents. We could be better people. We could be better people to each other if we're just like, move our body more and stop and get out of our goddamn head. It's like the Tim Dillon thing. Like,
you got to close that.
So, nowhere.
Is there lines on your face? I just know that's going to bug you.
Yeah, thank you. It's like what you might want to do yours a little bit more too then. There's one just on your nose. It's like what Tim Dillon said, and I will forever think about this. He's like, athletes get to where they want to be because they're dumb, because they don't think ever. They get to these crazy heights because they don't think about how ridiculous it is. They just go for it and they just act. I think everybody's needing a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
Like, stop thinking and just do it.
Yeah. Turn off this podcast and fucking go do something.
Yeah, it's like, okay, challenge. Whoever is listening to this right now, first would be like midnight or like 6 a.m. They're like, fuck you now. But it's like,
their kid is crying.
Whatever thing, like choose one thing today, whether it's tomorrow or you're listening at night or in the morning, like choose one thing that if you notice yourself thinking about it in a, oh, I don't want to do it. Now you have to do it. And like go full force at it. Like just go, oh, not thinking about it anymore. I'm just going to do it right away. Like
Well,
if you're sitting down going, oh, I got to do the dishes, stand up and do it right then. Don't even let yourself do the mind thing.
Because you're just going to trick yourself into, oh, I need a reward. I need comfort. I need this. And I think in the theme of the podcast, if it's something that you can't do right now, like say it's like, oh, I got to go to work tomorrow or something.
Sure.
It's like, go walk around. Go do some push-ups, do some squats, do something active because...
And just see how you feel afterwards.
Yeah. I bet you're going to change your mind about it.
Yeah. Challenge.
I'm empty.
Same.
All right.
Almost. Bye.
See you later.